buy him a burger or whatever, which again, for me, wouldn't be such a good thing because I'm vegan and I think we ought to be treating animals, with respect and things like that. So we're in an age now where everything is topsy-turvy and everything is coming before us in different ways. And this is where, you need to remain stable. So I love the illustration of that for the talk. I'll talk about it all in another minute, but let's just spend a minute or so just focusing on the here and now, letting go of whatever we've been doing today. So our mind is clear and free and empty, ready to receive. So just make sure you're sitting upright with your legs uncrossed and hands open on your thighs so the energy can flow around the body. And then just start breathing in through your nose and filling your lungs from the very bottom to the top. And then hold the breath to the count of 3. And slowly release through the mouth. So we'll just do several deep, slow breaths. And then just notice how this slow, deep, gentle breathing calms the body. So maybe your heart rate is slowing down a bit, or your hands may be beginning to feel a bit warmer than they were. And then observe your feelings as a result of doing the slow, deep, gentle breathing. Maybe you're feeling calmer. Maybe your thoughts have slowed down and you're feeling quite happy. And then notice the mind. So maybe the mind is more peaceful, less rushed. So we've been observing the breathing and its effects on us. And then an interesting question is, who is the observer? Who is the one observing these reactions in the body and the mind and in our feelings? So just ask yourself that question. Who is doing the observing? And listen to the answer. And then holding on to the answer and holding on to these nice, warm, positive feelings, just bring your attention back into this space. And if your eyes are closed, then just open them. And then look around you and smile. So that's good. Yes, so most people here are smiling. It doesn't hurt, and it does make a difference, actually. Makes you feel good automatically when you smile. So, I always like to start off with something like this because really, it's crucial that we have some understanding of what's going on inside us. Because when you look at that leaflet, you've got the plank there, if you like, or the seesaw, and on the one side you have a nice happy face, big smile, and then on the other side you've got a sad face, and if you like, they represent the two sides of ourselves, because we're not happy all the time, and we're not sad all the time. And then underneath there's the fulcrum, or there's that little ball there, which has a smile, not a huge smile, but a steady smile. And it's like, it represents what's going on in our head in a way. We have all those good thoughts and feelings, and then we have all the others. And that's a reflection, of what's going on outside. So for a lot of people, their happiness and their sadness comes from the outside. Everybody is, either reacting to either happy events, maybe a wedding or a party, or a nice time with your friends, in a social gathering somewhere, and enjoying that and loving every minute of it, and life feels good. And then, the next morning, people have got to go to work, and they have to maybe go through a traffic jam, and they may not have a very nice boss in the office, and all that happiness disappears, and there are feelings then of sadness, feelings of dread, and oh dear, isn't this, awful, I've got to go through this every day. So all those things are going on out there, and if we're hooked into those things which are going on out there, then our feelings are going to fluctuate all the time. And we'll have no stability in our life, because actually we're in reactive mode. So I'm reacting to the good times and enjoying them, and then I'm reacting to the challenging times and not enjoying them. So my mood goes up and down, and then when I'm at home, the same sort of thing will happen. I go to the party, feel good, come home the next morning, there's a load of washing up to be done, the house is a mess, and suddenly again, if we're not careful, our happiness has disappeared, and we suddenly feel we're a slave in the kitchen, having to do all sorts of things. And then we have other people in the house with us, of course, who are going through their ups and downs, and they're going to be making demands on us. And if they're sad and cross and angry, if I'm not careful, I'll be dragged into their sadness and their anger. They may shout at me, and I end up shouting at them, and then the whole thing escalates. So, being, if you like, dependent on situations and circumstances and people around me, without any awareness of anything else in my life, is going to cause me lots of problems. And then, if we're not careful, we'll start blaming other people. If only everyone washed up after themselves, if only the kids did their homework without me having to shout at them, etc., etc. And then we go into blaming and criticizing and everything else. And of course, all that makes things even worse. So, how do we maintain, this nice, stable, loving and content and detached way of living and being? Have you got any suggestions? How do we switch from all that's going on out there and become stable and happy and calm? Anyone like to make a suggestion? Yes?
I think the question you asked about who is the one who's thinking that already made me think, makes you a bit more aware?
Yes. So, yeah. Being more aware actually is, a key thing actually. Self-awareness. So rather than looking out there all the time, we start to look inside. So this is the first step really on that road to stability, on that road to confidence, on that road to resilience, because I'm recognizing that actually I am responsible for myself. I'm responsible for my own thoughts, words, and actions. And I have a choice over how I deal with every situation. So that's taking responsibility for myself, looking within, is the first key in a way to helping me to understand things better. And then when we combine that, that you can hear more or less anywhere, I think. Lots of self-development books always talk about these sorts of things. We've got to be mindful, we've got to be aware of what's going on in our mind and in our thoughts, words and feelings. But quite often there's a key missing in that awareness, and that key is really soul consciousness. Recognizing that I'm more than a body, recognizing I'm more than a brain, recognizing that I am actually a spiritual being, an eternal spiritual being in a physical body. Does that make sense for everybody? I'm sure it will do if you come here, because hands up those who've done the Raj Yoga meditation course. Oh, not so many of you actually. All right. So about 3 of you. Okay, so if you haven't done it, and if you're online and you haven't done it, I would strongly recommend that you do it, because it will open your eyes. Because we do have 3 eyes, as you who've done the course will know. We've got 2 eyes for looking outside, haven't we? And then we've got the 3rd eye here in the center of the forehead, and that's the spiritual eye. That's the eye of inner knowledge, inner wisdom, inner awareness. And that 3rd eye, which you'll see all over the place in India in particular, and you'll see it quite often in Hindus, who are performing bhakti. They'll often have a little red dot in the center of the forehead, and the bindu. And sometimes that is not just a little red dot, sometimes it's a tiny little diamond. A symbol of light, a symbol of the soul, because the soul is, in our understanding, a point of light. And of course, the wonderful thing about that point of light is that it is innately good. And this makes such a huge difference, because if you understand that your nature is actually one of goodness, your original nature is one of peace and love and happiness, then that's going to make a big difference, because it means then that you can go inside, if you like, and tap into the goodness, tap into the peace, and tap into the love, and empower it, and use it, and to transform yourself and your life. So many people do not have this awareness, and in particular on the, if you like, the Western approach to these things is, the Abrahamic religions, they're all based on the idea that actually we're by nature, human beings are bad rather than good, and that the badness needs controlling. So we use fear and force and threats and things like that to make sure our children behave, and then we have the police and the courts and the judges and that to make sure that we behave later on as adults. So rather than empowering ourselves, we're more inclined to beat ourselves up, more inclined to think we're no good, and more inclined then to suppress our goodness under a cloud of self-doubt and self-denigration. I mean, that's certainly been my experience, and it can take a lot of shifting to get out of that because it's gone so deep inside with all the messages that we've received, either through parents or teachers and other people in authority who tell us, you're not good enough. So if we want to be stable, if we want to be calm, if we want to be peaceful, if we want to be happy, then we need to recognize that we've got everything that we need inside us. And then the trick is to recognize it, accept it, and then bring it out. And this isn't just a case of saying it, it's a case of actually working on it in a very practical way. So there's lots of different ways in which we can check ourselves and change ourselves. And the first thing we really need to do is, what? Has anyone got any ideas? If you're going to go on an inner journey, what do you need to do? Meditation, yes, definitely. And to meditate, you need some time and some space. So, the first thing is, have some awareness, but then, in order to develop that awareness, we can't keep on rushing and round all over the place. We have to put the brake on somewhere and get off that roundabout or get off that little mouse wheel and take a step back, stop, and start breathing, relaxing, reflecting. And then that will create a space in which we can feed in some knowledge, some spiritual knowledge. And for the Brahma Kumaris, the first and most important piece of spiritual knowledge is summed up in 2 words. What are those 2 words? Yes, Om Shanti. So what does Om Shanti mean? Yes. So Om is I'm a soul, Shanti, peace. So, in other words, I am a peaceful soul. So that's the foundation. So anytime you're in any challenging situation where, you've got all sorts on, and you can see it on your television screen, the battle that's going on between good and evil, between lightness and darkness, and you can feel in your heart you want to help people, in your heart you feel shocked that humanity is going through so many traumas at the moment with no end in sight. The first thing we need to do if we want to help ourselves and help the world is to remember those 2 words. So Om Shanti. So let's just take a minute to tune in to that Om Shanti. So you make sure you're sitting upright. Do the slow, deep, gentle breathing. And just remember who you really are. So I'm a soul, separate from, but connected to this body. I am an eternal being of light. My original nature is one of peace. I love peace. And just notice how you feel when you tune into this peace. When you say, I am a peaceful being. Just feel it. And be it. And now just holding on to those feelings of peace, just come back into this physical realm, this material world. So, are you feeling more peaceful? Oh, well, that's good. So when we're calm, then we can see things more clearly, can't we? When we're calm, we can make better decisions. We're not going to rush into something. We're going to respond rather than react. So that Om Shanti will help enormously. Now the other key thing is that, if you like, we're operating in two realms, aren't we? We've got this material world, this physical world, and as a spiritual being, we've come here onto this earth, we've entered a body, and some of us may have been in a number of different bodies because we believe in rebirth or reincarnation. So we're carrying with us lots of knowledge from the past, maybe, as well as lots of baggage, which we may need to get rid of. But we then see this physical world as like a play or a drama. And in this drama, we all have different roles to play, and we all have our own unique contribution to make. So again, if I want to be stable and happy, I need to understand what my part is. Why am I here? What am I meant to contribute? What am I meant to learn? How am I going to grow and develop? Because the world then becomes a play or a drama, or another way of looking at it is that it becomes like a spiritual gymnasium. And every challenge that we have in our life is there for a reason. It's not something to be rejected. It's not something to be ignored or denied in any way. It's there as an opportunity to learn and grow. And there will be valuable gifts in it. And when we learn those gifts, again, it's going to help us a lot because it's going to make us very strong. It's going to make us very powerful. It's going to give us resilience because I'm going to be developing, if you like, my spiritual muscles or my spiritual insights. So lots of people go to the gym and they can be amazingly dedicated. I could never do it. I belonged to a gym for 2-3 years. I've only been a few times, but they go regularly, consistently. They do the same exercises. They're developing all their muscles, and that enables them to deal with all sorts of physical challenges in a better way. In the same way, if we were to put as much effort into our spiritual muscles and development, then again, this world would be a very different place because we would be tuning in, we'd be connecting with ourselves. And also the next step then is to connect with the divine, with the one, or with God, whatever you want to call that super consciousness, that super energy. And the world at the moment is in a state where even if we practice meditation and we do our best to be kind and loving and compassionate, we haven't got sufficient strength in ourselves to maintain that. We do need support from above. So Raj Yoga meditation isn't just about meditating and being peaceful in the here and now, being mindful in the here and now. It's about making a royal connection, the ultimate connection, if you like, with the source. And that source is unlimited. It doesn't get trapped in all the things that we get trapped in. And that source is there for everybody, regardless of our religion, regardless of whether we believe in God or not. That source is there, and anybody, anywhere, if they want to, and this is a key thing, we need to want to, we can access that source if we turn our attention and if we turn our thoughts to the source. We will get what we need to help us to cope with whatever is going on in our life. That's our belief, if you like. Millions of people all around the world believe in God, but they see God in a slightly different way to us. Quite often on the Christian side or the Abrahamic side, God is a punishing God and will punish you if you do wrong, etc. A fearful God. And then for others, God is love. And then your relationship will be very different if it's based on love rather than fear. So God is there, doesn't judge, doesn't condemn, doesn't do anything to put us down, respects us, helps us, protects us, does everything to help us change if we want to. There's no force in it. There's no threats in it. The explanation is given. If you want to be good and do good, you need to change yourself first. It's up to you. There's always that choice. So God is empowering us, but He's not going to do it for us. He, in inverted commas, because the soul doesn't have a gender. So that source will help us if we ask for it and if we want it. But no one is going to wave a magic wand and change you. You have to make the effort yourself. Does that make sense? So, once we know who we are, I'm a soul, then it's only a small step up to exploring the source the super consciousness, if you like, super consciousness. Because we have ordinary consciousness where we just think we're a body. We have higher consciousness where we're aware of ourselves as a soul or a spiritual being. And then we have super consciousness where we are aware of a higher power than ourselves who is freely accessible to those who wish to tune in and be supported by that force, that energy. And that energy is here on this earth now, helping us, helping to create a new world by supporting those who have a new consciousness, a new awareness. And we can see all the old systems are crumbling and there's newness growing. People are wanting freedom, people are wanting peace, people are wanting happiness. In other words, everyone is wanting to go back to their original state of pure consciousness. And the call is getting greater and greater, and the answers are appearing before us in many different ways, So, whatever we need, whatever we want, we will get. It might be a book that suddenly comes to you to help you with something. It might be a conversation with somebody which is very enlightening. It might be a sudden realization as you're reflecting on things. And the world is really an exciting place, a wonderful opportunity really to transform. I'm just wondering what time I meant to finish, so there can be questions. I should have checked beforehand. I've forgotten. What time do questions normally start? Those of you who come. Sorry? 7:35. All right, so we've got a few more minutes. How much longer have I got? 7:30. All right then, okay. So, is what I'm saying making sense? Does it sound a bit abstract or practical and helpful? So what I do now, to make it ground it more then, if I have any challenges, and I have had many, and I still have them, because there's going to be no end to the challenges, because they're meant to come. So I will have a challenge. I've had a health challenge recently. I don't need to go into the details of it, but it was a bit of a wake-up call. And I thought, why is it if you're not careful, you can go into blame mode and victim mode. Why has this happened to me? I've been, following a good diet, etc., etc. I don't smoke and I don't drink and I don't eat meat, because all these things actually are very important, because they're going to affect your state of mind as well as your body. So when you go on a spiritual journey, you want to change. You have to change everything. It's not just your thoughts, but your lifestyle, the things you eat, the way you treat people, the way you treat animals, the way you look on nature. Everything has to change, because otherwise we're going to carry on in the same old way, and look what that same old way has done. It's brought the world to its knees. Everything has been ruined. We were given a wonderful world full of trees, full of clean water, full of fresh air, and over centuries we've used everything up, and now everything is polluted and people are fighting over what's left. So it's not a happy state of affairs. So the lesson straight away is, what can I do about this? And one of the lessons straight away is a gift. If you've got a health challenge, if you've got an employment challenge, a money challenge, it's a gift. What are the gifts? And one of the gifts is acceptance. If if I can accept whatever is going on and face it and look for solutions, I'm going to be much better off than if I just ignore it or blame other people or even blame myself. Why didn't I stop eating meat years ago? Why didn't I do X, Y, or Z? If only I'd gone to the gym instead of sitting around, I would have been fit and healthy. We can go into blame and it's not going to help at all. All we can do is learn from it, because the law of karma is such we have to receive the return of whatever we've given out. So again, this is a very important spiritual law which will help us enormously. What you give out, you get back. So if I'm faced with lots of angry people, this is a return of my own anger. So what do? I need to start giving love. I need to start accepting. I need to start practicing empathy. I need to start being peaceful. I need to start responding rather than reacting. And when I give out that, even though the present moment might be quite challenging, it's guaranteed that my future will be good. So going back to the health challenge, accepting it, learning from it, and then, very important thing, practicing gratitude. Gratitude for the things I can do. Gratitude for being able to walk, to talk, to breathe. I mean, there's so many things which we actually take for granted and never think about. So if you're in good health, wonderful. Look after it, treasure it, because when you get over a certain age, and maybe before that, it can easily deteriorate if we don't value it. So it's a case of valuing every moment, valuing everybody in your life, appreciating everything. And to do that, really, we need to take a step back. How many people have noticed the blossom on the trees? Or has it just passed by on the bus without you even noticing? How many people have noticed the blue skies we had over the last 2 or 3 days, or the clouds, or whatever? There are so many things, there are so many gifts, which quite often now we're so focused down and so caught in our own little world that we don't see these things, we don't appreciate these things, we don't value them. So again, rather than looking at the defects of everybody, my partner or my kids, why aren't they working harder at school? Why don't they get grade A's instead of C's, etc., etc. We need to accept them and let them be, encourage them and empower them, but not try and force, because force will lead to all sorts of difficulties. So again, these are, very important tools which can help us. And another one which I use very often now is I write a letter, if you like, to the divine, and I'll say, we call the divine Baba, because we see God as our spiritual father. So I might write, "Dear Baba, what am I meant to do in this situation?" So with the health challenge that I had, I said, what am I meant to do? And then you meditate for 2 or 3 minutes with a piece of paper in your hand, ready to write on it. After 2 or 3 minutes, you start writing whatever comes into your mind with your non-writing hand. So I'm left-handed, so I would start writing with my right hand. And every time I've done this, I've always got very positive, practical, and empowering answers. And I'm always grateful for that, actually. So again, this is something you can do if you want. There's so many things you can do, but you have to want to do them. And sometimes people won't do any of these things until they're forced by their own pain, by their own misery, by their own unhappiness. So, so I get a lot of support now, I would say, from the divine. And once you open up to that help, it comes in so many different ways. It comes through people, who start to give you the return of the care you've given them. So my kids have been amazing. They've helped me a lot. My friends have. And people have recommended books, recommended therapists, alternative therapists, all sorts of things. And even, and the doctors and that have been very kind and very nice and very patient. So I've had lots of help in so many different ways because I'm open to it and I want to be healthy and I've got support and help on all levels, material level and the soul level and the God level. And it's not exclusive to me. There are many people all over the world who can tell you all sorts of inspiring stories about the help which is available if you're open to it and if you want it. It's your choice. Anyway, 7:30 now. So, sorry? Oh, question and answers. Yes. So, any questions? There doesn't seem to be. Oh, there is. There may be one coming. Well, that's good. Thank you.
So you said, when you do the letter writing and you get your responses, are the answers, do they come with people supporting you? Because you said you did get a positive response when you wrote the letter.
Yes.
And you got a response, I would say, from the divine. Is that through in human form, like people coming to support you and on this journey?
It's a mixture, actually. I think, once you're open to it and you ask for it, God's not going to heal you as such because you've got to deal with your own karma. Because if God was to be a miracle worker, he's got to be a miracle worker for everybody. So rather than saying, yes, you're cured, he'll give you advice, he'll give you suggestions, and he'll bring other people into your life. He'll give them what we would call a touching. And so it works on different levels, but the letter itself, I can remember once writing a letter saying, I'm fed up living by myself, doing all the cooking and the cleaning, and I'm tired out, and, I find it impossible to meditate, It was a very practical, moany letter. And then, the reply was, you're a great soul, you're going through a bit of a challenge at the moment, so it's so practical, I can't believe it. Why don't you get a cleaner? Why don't you go to the centre more often, because I haven't been going so often for various reasons, and then you can have some lunch there or an evening meal which would reduce the amount of cooking you have to do. And then the other thing was you need some regular exercise, because I don't, exercise very much. So on one level it was very practical, and then the other was spend more time meditating. So you get a mix. God is incredibly practical, very down to earth. It's not all airy-fairy. It's not get on your knees and pray. It's get off your knees and do something, and I'll help you. And then, the floodgates open, people start sending you good wishes, you might get a bunch of flowers from somebody, someone recommends a book. Like the other day somebody said, because I've changed my diet, so Ayurvedic now, the diet, and then somebody said, when you cook your food, make sure you put some olive oil on the top of the food, because you can't cook with olive oil because it goes toxic if the heat is too high, but you can get the benefits of it, by sprinkling it on afterwards. So many tips come from so many people, it's amazing. So it makes life really interesting, really exciting, actually. It's an adventure. And in a way, we're on a spiritual adventure once we realize that it is an adventure and we are spiritual beings in this material world, learning to restore ourselves, revitalize ourselves, and return to our original state of peace and love and happiness. Does that make sense? Well, thank you for the question. Yeah. Anyone else got a question?
You talk about being open to the divine. You have mentioned that, and everything comes to you. But how do you stay? How do you create that openness?
Very good question. Very good question. And the answer is, you need a bit of knowledge, you need a bit of awareness, but actually you need honesty. You have to be very honest with yourself. You have to have a strong desire to become peaceful, and to do that you have to face all these you could say spiritual diseases. We have to face our anger. We'll get help, but it's impossible to really have a good connection and meditate properly if you're full of anger, if you're full of greed, if you're really egotistical, if you think you know better than God, and all the rest of it, which scientists do, don't they? A lot of scientists. They think there's no such thing as God anymore. We're just an advanced form of ape, and we'll all die just like the other animals do, and there's nothing afterwards. So we have to do a lot of searching inside, reconnect with our values and our virtues and our talents, and spend time on that and recognize they're part of my original nature. So I found it quite challenging myself. I've quite practical in lots of ways, but actually making that connection. There's been so much anger there from the past, especially the things that have been done in God's name to me, as a child, with the nuns strapping us with a leather strap, and the priest putting the fear of God into us if you don't go to Mass on Sunday, that to love somebody that you're afraid of doesn't work, does it? So you have to really change your understanding of God as well, I think, and open yourself up then. Does that help at all or not? Yeah. Because if you don't, you have to face yourself, and face like the mirror of the soul. And if it's cloudy and dark and full of greed, it's ego and attachment, and you like all those things and you want all those things, then you're not really going to be in a position to connect and get something better in return. So sooner or later, I think we get fed up with all these other things. And then we're ready to look and let go and acknowledge and accept. Does that help a bit? Yeah, because otherwise there's a big barrage there, isn't there? There's a big chasm, and there can be somebody calling out to you, "Hello, I'm here, and I can give you anything you want," but you're saying, "Sorry, I'm too busy. I'm having a good time. I'm getting a fortune from my stocks and shares, and I've just bought a lovely new house, etc., etc." We can either go that way, no, I haven't got time, or the other way is, I'm too miserable and depressed to even think about something like that. There's certain relatives I know of mine. I do my best to try. I can see what they need. They need to take time out. I'm too busy. Stop telling me about these things. I've got to get the kids to school. I've got to get my work done. I've got to do the shopping and the cooking. Don't bother me with all of that. And I can understand that because I was the same at one time. But sooner or later, the good news is, or the bad news, depending on how you look at it, we will all hit rock bottom, bump, and there's nowhere else to go except up. And, some people hit the bottom, quicker than others. Some people stay at the bottom for a long time. Poor me, oh, it's terrible, I'm never going to change or whatever. But even they will think, oh, I can't carry on like this. I forgot to do something. And it won't be another pill, because that won't help. It'll give you temporary relief. It's got to be something deeper. It's a bit like a coconut, the coconut is very tough on the outside, isn't it? And it takes a lot of breaking sometimes to crack it open, but once it's open, inside actually, it's pure and it's nice and tasty, but there's such a thick shell on it that nothing can penetrate it. And the soul, I think, quite often is like that. So much rust or dirt, whatever you want to call it, surrounding it because of all the things we've done over time which have damaged us and other people. So a lot of forgiveness has to be applied, a lot of acceptance has to be applied, a lot of hope has to be applied, a lot of self-love has to be applied, talking to ourselves in a kind and gentle, loving way. Yeah, I've got problems at the moment, but it'll all be okay. And all right, I'm not bothered about God at the moment, but, if you are there, give us a sign. Even a little talk like that can lead to something or other. You never know. Thank you for the question. Any more questions then? Meditation. All right then. Okay. So then, in fact, I think for a meditation, I'm going to open this book on any page. If you've never read any BK books, then the top book, from my point of view, which has everything in it, is this book by Daddy Janki, and it's called Companion of God. And everything you need is in here, and I'm going to open it. I don't know what page it's going to open on, and I'm going for the right-hand page, and this says friendship. So I haven't pre-chosen this. I've no idea what it's going to say, but anyway, we'll treat it as a meditation. So if you get into a relaxed mode, do that slow, deep, gentle breathing. And this is called friendship. Friendships on the spiritual path require caution if we are to enjoy them fully. Sometimes we get so involved in our relationships that our own individual spiritual progress is undermined. This is a mistake, because the very purpose of friendship is to uplift. And if I am remiss in my spiritual efforts, I will not be able to exert the positive influence of my own most elevated state. One should always maintain the intention of being of help to friends. But that help needs to be devoid of any desire for praise, and above any reactions of ill feeling or sorrow. Offering this kind of help will only further my spiritual growth. If, on the other hand, my offer is tainted, 99% of its sweetness will be removed, and people will notice this. In fact, it's the sweetness which creates spiritual friendships, the willingness to listen and learn from each other in order to grow. So I think that's a good point to finish on, really, because we need the support of other people as well as the support of the divine. And if we want that support, we've got to give support, give the love, and then we'll receive the love. So give without any expectations. Be a bestower. So Om Shanti, thank you for listening. Om Shanti to those online. I hope it's been helpful in some way.
Thank you, John, for the wonderful talk and all the talks that's given. Before we go, there's a few announcements. Next week, the talk is same time, same place, and the topic is flowing without losing. We do have a Raj Yoga meditation course starting up from 4th of April on Saturday. I think starting on 4th of April. And timing for that is 12 to 1:15 in the afternoon. So whoever wish to join online, they can register through our website. And also on 4th of April, we do have a building self-esteem course. It's one day Saturday. And that timing for that is 2 to 4 in the afternoon. Every Mondays and Thursdays are reflective meditations, which is in-house, 7 to 7:30. And every Sunday morning meditations, 10 to 10:45, which is online. So whoever wish to join, go to the website and you will get a link to join. Once again, thank you for joining us, and thank you to all our online viewers as well to joining, and have a safe journey back home. There's one book that's from John, that's Breaking Through the Darkness, it's available in the shop, and the other one is It's Time to Do the Inner Work. That's in line with this evening's theme. So the both books are available in the shop. You can browse on your way out.
Thank you.